You are tuned in to G5 Jeff TV. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the share button as you come on in. As most of you have heard already, news out of the UK, Josh Warrington has dropped his IBF belt. And it came as a surprise to a lot of people. Now, a lot of people are asking, did he drop the belt just to duck Kid Galahad? So I know you're probably thinking like, well, Josh Warrington already fought Kid Galahad and beat him. So what are you talking about? Let me give you a little backdrop of what's going on. So Josh Warrington wanted to set up a unification fight for April of this year. The IBF basically said, no, we're not sanctioning that fight. So Josh Warrington had a choice. Either fight his mandatory and Kid Galahad or drop the belt. And Josh Warrington decided to drop the belt. Now, when you see boxers drop titles, there's a story behind it. Like there's something going on behind the scenes that forces a fighter to release their title. These fighters, they've been in the gym since they were kids, looking for the moment to become a champion. I remember how emotional Josh Warrington was when he won the title. So for him to give it up, I'm like, okay, it's definitely something behind the scenes going on. The bigger question at the time that I was reading this article was, why did the IBF not grant unification? I was always taught unification trumps mandatory. When there's a unification opportunity, more than likely the unification takes precedent. The sanctioning bodies won't get in the way of that. So my question was, okay, IBF, why are you declining someone a unification opportunity? Like, that's rare in the sport of boxing. So I was getting ready to email the IBF. I was getting ready to email them. Now, usually I will email the sanctioning bodies, and I'm not going to lie, they get back to you within 48 to 72 hours. Now, I don't agree with all of the answers they've given me, but they do respond within 48 to 72 hours. So definitely big shout out to them for that. And I was getting ready to email them, and I'm like, you know what? Let me do a little bit more homework. So, I do a little bit more homework, some more reading, more articles, things like that. And then I finally got my answer, and I was like, okay, no need to email the IBF. I know exactly what's going on. Kid Galahad is going to sign with PBC. He's going to sign with Al Haymon. For the people that don't know, PBC and Al Haymon has a pretty good relationship with the IBF. If you look at it from PBC and Al Haymon's end, there's no reason for them to sign Kid Galahad unless he is getting an opportunity at a belt. And if he wins the belt, then of course that's another belt under the PBC stable. So I'm like, okay, now it makes sense. The IBF declined the unification for Josh Warrington because they wanted Kid Galahad to get his mandatory shot first, because they knew Kid Galahad was going to be signing with PBC. Like, there's your answer. There's your answer right there. Now, that put Josh Warrington at a crossroad. Either drop the belt or fight Kid Galahad. And he decided to drop the belt. Now, question. Is Josh Warrington ducking Kid Galahad? It's hard for me to say that Josh Warrington is ducking Kid Galahad. It's hard to say a fighter is ducking a fighter that they already beat. Now, don't get me wrong. The Josh Warrington Kid Galahad fight was a close fight. It wasn't the easiest fight to score. Some people had it for Josh Warrington. Some people had it for Kid Galahad. I thought Kid Galahad won the fight by 1 round. But I could argue it the other way for Josh Warrington. It's hard for me to say Josh Warrington is ducking Kid Galahad because he already technically beat him. So, was it a mistake for Josh Warrington to drop this belt? I'm not sure. Kid Galahad is a mandatory. He is under normal circumstances, he's a high risk, very little reward. But when you're fighting a mandatory, beating your mandatory is a big reward, because if you beat your mandatory, then you probably have a voluntary coming up, and then he could revisit the unification again. For Josh Warrington to drop the belt, he either has one or two things going on. He either has a big fight lined up within the division, or he's moving up in weight for a big name, or he was that pissed off about not being able to unify, get into a unification fight in April, that he was pretty much like, fuck it, I don't want to hold this belt anymore. I don't know which one it is, but I can't say Josh Warrington is ducking Kid Galahad. I can't say it. If you're on the if you think that he's ducking Kid Galahad because he dropped the belt, you would have to give me a legit reason why Kid Galahad is worth ducking. Kid Galahad is a solid fighter. Don't get me wrong. And he did well in the first fight with Josh Warrington. Obviously, he didn't do well enough because he didn't get the decision. But Kid Galahad is no power puncher. He's technically a good fighter, but he's not great or, a generational talent. He's a solid fighter, but Kid Galahad is not worth ducking, and Kid Galahad is not worth dropping a title for. So I'm really looking forward to see what Josh Warrington has cooked up for later on this year. I think he's fighting next month. But after that, what is he doing? Because if his fight after this one in February is not a big fight, if he doesn't fight a big name or a big fight within the next year or so, then we can revisit this situation and say, hey, I can see why y'all said he was ducking Kid Galahad. So he either needs to have a big fight this year, or he needs to move up and weight. One of the two. If he doesn't do neither one of them by the end of the year, then I will come back on this channel and say that Josh Warrington ducked Kid Galahad. But just on the surface, I'm not going to say Josh Warrington is ducking Kid Galahad because he technically already beat him. I would have been more pissed off at the IBF not sanctioning a unification than not wanting to fight Kid Galahad. If Josh Warrington came out and said, you know what, I don't want to fight, I don't want to hold a belt where the organization's not going to allow you to go after unification, I can respect that. I can respect that 100%. I can respect that 100%. So I'm really curious to see what Josh Warrington does. I'm curious to see if Kid Galahad actually signs with PBC, and Kid Galahad's going to have to fight somebody for that title, and I'm curious to see who that is going to be. So this is a open situation. I'm definitely going to keep my ear to the street, but y'all let me know what y'all think in the comment section. G5 Jeff TV, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Please share this video, support your boy, support good content at all times. I appreciate y'all. Peace.